My dear students, I have great pleasure in introducing on very important topic on research, that is collection of data. The field investigators are facing too much of problems at the time of collection of data. The collection of data is very much essential to make any type of analysis. The type of analysis are very much necessary to give proper interpretation and to go for policy implications. While coming for source of data or collection of data, this can be done in two ways. Number one, primary data collection. Number two, secondary data collection. The primary data is nothing but the data ought to be collected by the investigator for the first time. Now we can give example in the form of field survey data. The second one is secondary data. The secondary data is nothing but the data ought to be collected by the investigator from already published sources such as magazines, research reports, newspaper, journals, and so on and so forth. Now let me give what are the various methods of collection of primary data, and this can be given in the form of 5 ways. Number one, direct personal investigation. Number two, indirect oral investigation. Number three, information from correspondent, agents, and reporters. Number four, mailed questionnaire method. Number five, schedule sent through enumerators. Now let me introduce each of the items with suitable examples. I said already the first method is nothing but direct personal investigation. Under this method, the investigator gather the information or collect the information directly from the informants by using schedule and questionnaire method. Now we can take example of the field survey data being collected by MPhil scholars and PhD scholars. In the case of MPhil scholars and PhD scholars, they prepare some schedules and they approach to the concerned household level and they collect the information, and after getting the information, it is being properly analyzed, interpreted, and it is being prepared in the form of reports. The second method is called indirect oral investigation. Under indirect oral investigation, the investigator gather the information or collect the information directly from the witness or third parties who can supply the information on behalf of the respondent. In other words, we can say there is no correspondence between the investigator and the informants in this particular method, because all the source of information about informants being provided by the witness or third parties to the investigators. Now we can give the example in the form of the police investigation about theft cases and murder cases. Suppose some murder is taking place at a particular point. The policemen get the information initially from the neighbors. After getting that particular information, again finally the policemen approach to the concerned party. Now we can go for the third method. The third method is called the schedule or information being provided by correspondent, agents, or reporters. Under this method, the investigator appoints some of the correspondent or agents in each of the locality. The duty of the correspondent is nothing but they have to gather the information, they have to collect the information to the concerned locality, and they have to pass the information directly to the investigator, or processing of information being done by central office. Now we can go for the fourth method. The fourth method is called mailed questionnaire method. Under mailed questionnaire method, the correspondence between investigator and informants are taking place only through mail method. Under mailed questionnaire method, the schedule being prepared by the investigator. The schedule being based on certain objective. On the basis of objective, the questionnaire is being prepared and it has been sent to the informants by postal method. And again, after filling the schedule by the informants, again it will be sent back to investigator through mail method only. and some of the information in the form of internet, email, all the informations are coming under this particular form. Now we can take the examples like most of the correspondence codes being provided by many of the universities are come under this category. And secondly, we can give example in the form of the sales representative. For example, the sales representative want to have some of the information to their own head office. It is being channelized only through mailed questionnaire method. And thirdly, we can give example in the form of the trade unions. Most of the trade unions, they want to have correspondence with their own members, and it is being done by using mail method. And last method is called schedule sent through enumerators. Under this method, the investigator appoints some of the enumerator exclusively for field data collection purpose. So the investigator, they approach some of the college departments or university departments. They recruit some of the students exclusively for field data collection purpose. After recruitment of the students, they will be giving training how to collect the information, in what way we have to collect the information, how to post the question, and so on and so forth. After providing the training, again the investigator, they is sending this enumerator exclusive for field data collection. Once field data collection is over, again it will be submitted to the investigator. So the job of the enumerator will complete by collection of field data. After that, the job will be ends up for the enumerator. And now we can give example in the form of most of the research organizations, they follow this particular method. For example, National Institute of Rural Development, it is a research organization based at Hyderabad. That particular organization, they follow this particular method. Similarly, we can take example of MIDS, that is Madras Institute of Development Studies, based at Adyar. They follow this particular method. And NSS, National Sample Survey, Delhi based organization, they follow this particular method. So most of the research organization, they follow this last method only. Now the question comes about what is the difference between mailed questionnaire method and schedule sent through enumerators. Under mailed questionnaire method, there is no correspondence between investigator and informants. And all the correspondence are taking place only through mail under mailed questionnaire method. Whereas in the case of last method, that is schedule sent through enumerator, all the correspondence between investigator and the informants are taking place only through certain via media. Through enumerator only, all the informations are being processed. Now let me illustrate about the secondary data. I said the secondary data is nothing but the data ought to be collected by the investigator from already published sources. Suppose if the investigator collect the information from the journals, magazine, research reports, then it is called secondary data. The secondary data, this can be collected in two ways. Number one, published sources of secondary information. Number two, unpublished sources of secondary information. Suppose if you see the published sources of secondary information, this can be collected under 5 forms. Number one, the state and the central government publications. Here we can give illustrations in the form of the state budget, the central budget, and the state planning report, central planning report. Everything comes in the form of state government and the central government publications. Now let me go for the second method. The second method is called semi-government publication or quasi-government publication. The quasi-government or semi-government is explained by the rules and regulations of the particular organization. 50% of the rules and regulations is based on private organization. The balance 50% of the rules and regulation is governed by public enterprises. Here we can see mixing of both private organization and government organization. Now we can take example in the form of LIC and FCI. And this particular organization, they are bringing some of the annual reports. The annual reports published by LSC and Food Corporation of India, everything comes in the form of semi-government publications. And the third form of publication is called research publication. The research publication is nothing but most of the research organization, I said already, NERD, National Institute of Rural Development, NCAR, National Council for Auddeyt Economic Research, NSS, National Sample Survey, MIDS, Madras Institute of Development Studies. Most of the research organization, they are bringing some of the research publications. That particular research publication is called research publication, comes under third form of the published source of secondary information. And last category of published sources of information of secondary data is nothing but the private publications. Most of the private organization, they do publication. They are bringing some of the annual reports, pamphlets, everything comes in the form of private publication. Now we can illustrate some of the examples like PPL India, Onida TV, TVS, and Dr. Reddy Laboratories, and most of the companies, they are bringing some of the annual reports. The annual reports comes in the form of private publications. Now let me go for the secondary source of information through unpublished one. That means the particular publication comes in the form of secret nature or confidential nature. That means the data is not available for publication, and the particular data can be available on the basis of certain demand, or we can say certain aim is involved for collection of this particular database. Now we can give example in the form of the CBI inquiry, army secret files, and the scientific discoveries. Everything comes in the form of unpublished source of secondary information. Now the question comes about what type of data is more suitable for research purpose. The choice between primary data as well as secondary data depends upon 5 important things. Number 1, the availability of source of inquiry. Number 2, the durability of time or availability of time. Number 3, the availability of financial resources. Another one is degree of accuracy required. And last one is the collection of inquiry, whether you want to get the information by individual base or institution base or government base. Which base of information is very much necessary. Let me summarize whatever said about the earlier points. The collection of data is one very important instrument for any type of data analysis, and the entire policy implication and the policy formation of the government and any type of organization is completely depends upon the way in which you are gathering information, how it is being properly analyzed and interpreted. I said there are 2 methods of collection of information. One is primary data collection, number 2, secondary data collection. While coming for primary data collection, I have mentioned about 5 important sources. Number 1, direct personal investigation. Number 2, indirect oral investigation. Number 3, information from correspondent, agents and reporters. Number 4, mailed questionnaire method, and last method is called schedule sent through enumerators. While coming for the secondary data is nothing but the matter being collected by the investigator from already published sources, and this particular source of information we can gather in 2 ways. One is published source of secondary data, number 2, unpublished source of secondary data. While coming for published source of secondary data, I have mentioned about 4 important sources. Number 1, government publication. Number 2, semi-government publication. Number 3, research publication. Number 4, private publications. While coming for unpublished sources of secondary data, I said about the most important secret methods and certain emergency methods are coming in the form of secondary sources of information. Now we have to have a problem about the choice of selection of a particular source of information, whether we have to collect the information in the form of primary sources or secondary sources. Everything depends upon certain important categories. Number 1, nature and scope of the survey. Number 2, the availability of time factor. Number 3, the availability of financial resources. Number 4, the degree of accuracy involved. And again, the most important one is for what purpose you are collecting information. Whether you want to collect information for individual purpose, for research publication, or for getting degree, or some of the organization they want to utilize it. For this you are collecting information, or any government body they require this particular information. All these things should be known before selecting what method should be go for, whether primary data collection or secondary data collection.